They called her Etta Bellamy, black, bold, cold as the rifle she carried. By 30, she had more blood on her boots than most men twice her age, not because she liked the killing, but because justice never came unless she delivered it herself. Once, long ago, she had softer hands, a piano teacher with hope in her heart and faith in the courts. But all of that died the day her baby brother swung from a tree, framed and forgotten by the very men who promised justice. Etta buried her brother, burned her past, and picked up a gun. From then on, the only thing she believed in was retribution. When she saw Wade Thatcher's name on a wanted poster, she didn't hesitate. Wanted for armed robbery, murder, and anti-government activity. $1,000, dead or alive. To most, he was just another outlaw. To Etta, he was the next paycheck. Or so she thought. She tracked him across 3 counties and through a mountain pass until she found him, broken, bleeding, and leaning against a boulder like he was waiting for death. He didn't reach for a weapon. He didn't beg. He simply looked her in the eye and said, "If you're gonna shoot, aim straight." It wasn't defiance, it wasn't arrogance, it was surrender. That should have made it easier. But something in the way he spoke made her pause. Men like him usually came out fighting. This one looked like he'd already lost the war. She tied him up, threw him over her horse, and began the long journey back to town. But before they made it far, the bullets started flying. It was an ambush. 3 riders, faces covered, no warning, no demands. They weren't trying to rescue Wade. They were trying to kill her. She dove behind a rock, returned fire, and dragged Wade to safety. That's when he said the words that would change everything. "They're not after me. They're here to kill you." She didn't want to believe him, didn't want to think someone had placed a target on her back. But one of the gunmen shouted, "Get the girl! Leave the boy!" That wasn't a bounty. That was a hit. The ambushers retreated when they saw she wouldn't die easy, but the message was clear. Etta Bellamy was marked. With her horse injured and Wade still bleeding, she dragged them both to an abandoned trading post buried deep in the mountains. Snow began to fall that night. They were stranded. She kept Wade tied to the bed frame. She didn't trust him, not yet. But as the days passed, her grip on the rope slackened. He could have run, but he didn't. Instead, he talked. Wade Thatcher wasn't the criminal the posters made him out to be. He'd been a railroad clerk, a quiet man with a quiet life, until he stumbled on a secret buried in the company ledgers. Children, mostly black and native, working in remote camps under false names, money funneled into hidden accounts. A corruption ring stretching from the railroad bosses to the U.S. Marshal himself, Marshal Briggs. Wade took his findings to Briggs, believing the law would do what was right. Instead, Briggs destroyed the evidence, burned Wade's home, and painted him as a criminal. Now Wade was running for his life, not from justice, but from the law itself. Etta had heard of Briggs. He was a decorated officer, a man of the people. He was also the one who'd led the lynch mob that killed her brother. Suddenly, her mission wasn't just about a bounty. It was personal. And Wade, he wasn't her enemy. He was a witness, a survivor, a man carrying the same kind of hurt she bore in her own heart. For 2 weeks they lived like ghosts, snowed in, cut off, half-starved. They shared stories, shared silence. And slowly, something began to grow in the stillness. Not trust, not yet, but something deeper, recognition. Wounded souls finding a mirror in one another. They made a plan. To take down Briggs, they needed to testify. But the law in Wyoming territory wouldn't accept a woman's word unless she was speaking for her husband. So Etta did the unthinkable. She married Wade. At first, it was strategy, a loophole, a way to take Briggs down legally. But when she said, "I do," something inside her shifted, because for the first time in years, she wanted something more than revenge. As the snow melted, they rode south toward Cheyenne, both knowing the road ahead could kill them. Etta wore black, not mourning, but armor. Wade rode beside her, pale from blood loss, his eyes watchful. They had the ledger, proof of the corruption, names, dates, bribes, and hidden bank accounts. But they also had a target on their backs, and Briggs wasn't the kind of man to go down easy. They entered the marshal's office together. Etta stepped forward and dropped the ledger on his desk. "I'm Mrs. Thatcher," she said, "and I have a story to tell." Briggs didn't blink. He smiled, then drew his revolver. The shot caught Wade in the side. Etta didn't flinch. She pulled her gun and fired back, straight through the marshal's throat. The man who ruined both their lives collapsed without a word. Wade survived, barely. Etta sat by his bedside for 6 days, didn't eat, didn't sleep. She just held his hand and whispered, "You made me believe again. Don't you dare leave me now." He didn't. It took months to bring Briggs's network to justice. Names were exposed, officials were arrested, and Wade's name was finally cleared. As for Etta, she was offered a badge. She turned it down. "I don't want the law," she said. "I want peace." A year later, they owned a small piece of land outside Cheyenne, built a cabin, planted corn. Etta opened a school for black girls and named it after her brother. Wade taught bookkeeping, built her a piano with his own 2 hands, said her fingers were too graceful for a trigger. Sometimes, late at night, they'd sit under the stars, quiet, breathing, healing. No promises, just presence. Their love didn't come easy. It wasn't pretty, but it was real. Born from fire, shaped by grief, kept alive by choice. They weren't supposed to survive the West, let alone fall in love in it, but they did. And in doing so, they proved something. Even in the wildest lands, even among liars and outlaws and killers, love can still find a way. If this story stirred something in you, share it. Comment below. Would you have pulled the trigger or listened just long enough to fall in love?